Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Back to Ashes. My name is Phoenix. I'd like to take a second and acknowledge the elite members of the channel. Thank you for your devoted and continuous support. I appreciate each and every last one of you. As you can tell by the title, today's stories were picked by members and subscribers as I made a post over on the main channel. So, you know what that means. It is time to sit back, relax, kick back, grab your snacks or tuck in and get warm, and prepare for your dose of vocal melatonin entitled Member and Subscriber Requests. Right after this intro, there will be an ad. I'll read the first story, there will be an ad. After that, there will be no more ads within this video. The familiar, as told by me, the daughter of the woman they all seem to know. They say everyone has a doppelganger, but what they don't tell you is what happens when yours starts living a life of its own. I'm 27. My mom, Linda, is 49. We live near each other, not under the same roof, but close enough that we still see each other often. I always thought we were normal until the town started talking. It began in subtle ways back when we lived in our tiny, tucked-away town. You'd expect that in small places. People remember faces. But this was different. People didn't just think they'd seen my mom. They knew her habits, her voice, her routines, even her moods. She works as a DoorDasher, so she's out in the world more than most. It wasn't unusual for workers at restaurants to say things like, "Back already, Linda?" Or, "You forgot your drink earlier." But it didn't stop there. One time, we were at a gas station together when a clerk waved at her and said, "Hope your day is going better now." She just smiled awkwardly. We've never been there before. Other places, other people. A Walmart cashier said, "I thought you moved away," before staring at her with this weird tilted head expression. The kind people give when something doesn't add up, but they can't quite put their finger on it. The worst part? They were always so casual, like they'd spoken to her just hours before, as if they'd shared secrets, little jokes or tense moments that left emotional residue, like they knew her. I started brushing it off. Small town weirdness, mistaken identity, until it followed us. 9 hours away, a new city, new roads, new people, same thing. Only 2 weeks into our fresh start, it began again. "Hey, you were just here earlier," someone at the post office said to her. "No," she said. "I think you're confusing me with someone else." They blinked, confused. "But you were wearing the same jacket." "We just bought that jacket 2 days ago." I was there for that one, and others too. At first, I laughed it off, but the laughter stopped when the same exact tone, the same phrases, the same misplaced familiarity kept happening over and over. Then came the day my aunt and uncle saw it. Her. They'd been back in our old town, visiting. I wasn't there, but I believed them. My uncle swore he had a whole conversation with my mom at the farmer's market. Said she was talking about family, asking about how their dog was recovering from surgery. Said she looked a little tired but happy. But my mom was 500 miles away with me at the time. And then my aunt joined him. She didn't smile. She froze. Her eyes didn't even blink. "That's not Linda," she whispered. My uncle laughed at first. Then he took a closer look. He said her teeth were wrong. too square, lips too thin, and her left eye had this flicker, like a candle trying to go out but refusing to die. And the thing, because I no longer know what else to call it, just stared, then walked away. Not ran, not rushed, just calmly turned and vanished into the crowd. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Because it came with us. Because it's still here. I wished I could say these were isolated stories, but now I see it. I saw it last night. I was at the grocery store picking up a frozen pizza when I spotted my mother 3 aisles over. She didn't wave, didn't call out, just stood there staring at a wall of canned soup. Her head tilted, her lips slightly moving. I almost called out, but something in me hesitated. Instead, I turned and called my mom, my real mom. She answered immediately. "Hey, sweetie, I'm in bed already. What's up?" I looked back down the aisle. It was gone. I should have left it alone, but tonight, I checked the Ring doorbell on my mom's apartment. She said it hadn't gone off all day, but there was a video from 2:03 a.m. A woman just standing at the edge of her porch light, not knocking, not moving, just watching. The camera caught her face for only a second, just long enough to show her smile. It wasn't quite right. It was my mom's smile, but pulled too wide, and it never reached her eyes. I zoomed in on the footage and the reflection of the glass door. I swear to God, she didn't have a reflection of her own. And her shirt? It was the same one my mom had thrown away last week. I don't know what it is, and I don't know why it chose her, but I'm starting to think it doesn't just want to look like her anymore. It wants to be her, and I think it's getting better at it every day. I shouldn't have heard her voice. For the sake of keeping things quiet, let's just say my name is Howard. I was 13, the weekend everything changed. Late 2018. That trip was supposed to be a relaxing getaway to a lake house in northern Michigan, a small family retreat before school picked up again. But it became something else entirely. Something I'm still not sure I survived. My mom had been planning it for months. Her best friend, Carissa, owned a house near Lake Hahn, tucked in a forgotten corner of the Upper Peninsula, where the trees were thick and the roads barely paved. It sounded like the sort of place people disappear into and are never heard from again. I remember reading an old post on a message board once. Some places were never meant to be touched. I didn't realize at the time how true that was. From the moment we left our home in southern Michigan, I had a knot in my stomach. I didn't know why. Just instinct, maybe. Something primal. I was always a nervous kid, but this was different. The kind of fear that doesn't come from overthinking, but from someplace deeper, older. We arrived just before sunset. The sky was a soft orange, the trees a looming black wall around the clearing where the lake house sat. It was beautiful, in that uncanny way a still lake at dusk can be. Too perfect, too silent. The place was surrounded on 3 sides by forest, the kind that feels like it watches you back. The driveway curved in and vanished behind the trees like a noose tightening. Carissa greeted us with a warm smile. Her husband Steve and their two kids, Ellie and Jonah, were already outside roasting marshmallows. Blitz, their massive husky, barked happily and ran in circles. I remember thinking he was the only one who really understood the danger here. The first night was normal, if uneventful. Pizza, board games, adult laughter echoing down from the basement while I hung around the kitchen watching videos on my phone. That was when I heard the sound. Scraping. A dragging, deliberate sound across the outside wall. Too steady to be the wind, too harsh to be a branch. My heart jumped into my throat. I waited. Then silent. Eventually, I peeked outside, half expecting to see something with claws and teeth. But there was only a deer, its antlers brushing against the siding. Or so I told myself. When I mentioned it, my mom just smiled. Deer are symbols of peace, Howard. That night, I fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in my Jurassic World blanket. The sound still replaying in my head. It followed me into my dreams. Long, dark corridors lined with trees. A voice whispering my name from just out of sight. The next day, I woke up groggy. Everyone was already up and buzzing with energy. Carissa insisted we all go to the lake. It was bright out, mid-afternoon, and I felt sluggish, like I hadn't slept at all. The beach was loud, kids running around, adults chatting in little circles. I drifted to the edge of the woods, just enough distance to be alone without getting yelled at. I popped in my earbuds and tried to zone out. That's when I heard her, my grandmother's voice. Howard, come here, boy. It was her exact cadence, her exact tone, like when she'd asked me to bring her a glass of water, only she was on the beach. I could see her. She was sitting beside my mom. But the voice kept calling, from the trees, breathless, hungry. I didn't move, didn't even look toward the woods. I just ran, straight to my grandma. She looked up, surprised. I asked if she called me, and when she said no, I felt on my knees weaken. No one believed me. That night, Blitz would not stop pacing. He wouldn't eat. He wouldn't play. His eyes never left the tree line. Something was out there, and he knew it. Then, one of the kids, Jonah, I think, kicked him. Blitz snapped, lunging, growling so loud it cut through the laughter like a siren. I grabbed his collar, just in time. The moment passed, but everything felt different after that. That night, I stayed outside with Blitz. The others laughed inside, pretending nothing was wrong. Then, the stick snapped. Loud, heavy, deliberate. Blitz bolted. Steve and my stepdad grabbed rifles and flashlights and ran after him. Into the trees. Into the dark. We waited. Silent. Then, after what felt like hours, 2 distant gunshots. Nothing else. We locked the doors, drew the curtains, sat in the dark with the power off, hoping whatever was out there couldn't see us. We fell asleep eventually, terror numbing us like a drug. The next morning, we found their bodies, or what was left of them. Steve and my stepdad dumped like trash on the porch, torn open, bones snapped, organs missing. It wasn't a bear. It couldn't have been. The police said otherwise, cleaned it up, took our statement, told us to go home, said it was a freak accident. But we all knew better. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The sound of that scraping kept returning. Then it happened again. Only now, it wasn't outside. It was inside the wall. Slow, purposeful. Then the back door creaked open. The smell hit me first. Rot, wet dirt, meat left too long in the sun. I stayed frozen, hiding under my blanket, peeking out just enough to see it. A shape, tall, gaunt, head like a skull with wet, gleaming sockets. Its limbs moved with a fluid grace, bending too far, too wrong. It looked at me, and in my grandmother's voice it whispered, "Come with me, boy." I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. Then, footsteps from upstairs. Someone awake. The creature turned, faded into the dark like smoke in a breeze. We left at dawn, packed and drove south in silence. A month later, Carissa and her family disappeared. No signs, no blood, just a shoe and a blanket. People say it was an accident, but I know what happened. I know what walks in those woods. And sometimes late at night when I'm lying in bed, I hear her voice again, calling me back. The Freak Out. This is my story. Back in October of 2019, I turned 18 and moved into a creaking little apartment on the edge of Aberdeen, South Dakota. It was the kind of place that felt forgotten, tucked between half-boarded storefronts and shuttered diners that hadn't seen customers in years. I had nothing but a TV balanced on a folding table and a mattress on the floor. I was broke, like boiling hot dogs in a coffee pot broke, and desperate for furniture. That's when I turned to Facebook Marketplace. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to give away couches for free. Or maybe you wouldn't. Either way, I found one. The picture wasn't great. It was grainy, low light, but it looked decent enough for me. A little floral pattern, cushion slightly worn. The description just said, "Free couch, need gone, tonight." The seller replied immediately, "Come at 8:30, he said. Then he drops an address. No town, no name, just coordinates in the middle of nowhere. That should have been my first red flag. But desperation makes you stupid. It makes you forget that things that sound too good to be true usually are. So I said, sure. And I left around 7:30. It was already dark and a dense fog clung low to the highway, like a warning I couldn't hear. As I drove, the road narrowed into a twisting stretch of gravel flanked by skeletal trees, the kind that looked like they were reaching for you. My cell signal dropped halfway there. No texts, no maps, just me, the darkness, and a growing sense that I'd made a mistake. After nearly an hour, I came to what must have been the address, a slumped-over barn with peeling red paint, and a single yellow line burning above the entrance. It looked abandoned, forgotten by time. There were no other cars and no signs of life. I parked on the side of the dirt road and stepped out. My boots crunched over frozen gravel as I approached the barn. I knocked. The door opened immediately. No creak, no hesitation, just open. A man stood there, tall, bulky, with a heavy coat zipped all the way up, and a black ski mask that covered everything but his eyes. "Couch inside," he said, voice flat. "Need help moving it." Something in me tensed, a primal animal fear. I peered past him, and that's when I saw them. Two other figures standing just behind the doorway, perfectly still. They weren't helping. They weren't talking. They were just waiting. Everything in my gut screamed run. I turned without a word and sprinted. The cold air sliced into my lungs. I reached my car, threw the door open, and slammed it shut behind me. Fumbled the keys, started the engine. My tires kicked up mud and gravel as I reversed straight into a ditch. Didn't care. I floored it, dragging the bumper on the way out, and didn't stop until I saw a speed limit sign and the dull orange glow of civilization again. I never called the cops. I didn't have a license plate, a name, nothing solid to report. But I couldn't stop thinking about what would have happened if I stepped inside that barn. I tried to forget it, swore off Facebook Marketplace forever. But last year, I moved again. New town, fresh start. And wouldn't you know it? While scrolling on my new accounts, I came across a post in one of the local freebie groups. A couch. Same ugly floral pattern. Same blurry photo. Same exact wording. Free couch. Need gone tonight. Curious, I reverse image searched the photo. It had been uploaded dozens of times. Different accounts, different towns, always rural, always late at night. But one thing was the same every time. Each post, each one, was made the day after someone in that area went missing. And in the comments beneath the most recent post, just one reply: "I'll come pick it up at 8:30. I really should have let it go. I should have blocked the page, deleted my Facebook, burned the damn laptop if that's what it took. But I didn't. I stared at that comment. "I'll come pick it up at 8:30. Like it was a suicide note written in real time. I clicked on the profile of the person who posted it. A girl, young, 18 maybe. Her name was Ellie. I didn't recognize her, but she lived just 20 miles from me. Recent posts showed she'd just moved into her very first apartment. She had a photo of her mattress on the floor, her cat curled up on a towel. I knew that struggle all too well. And now she was going to that barn. The same barn, or one just like it. Another trap. I sat there staring at the screen, heart racing. My apartment was still. Too still. The silence pressed in around me. I could feel that same old fear crawling back, wrapping cold fingers around my spine. But this time, it wasn't about me. I sent her a message. "Don't go, please, it's not safe." I watched as it was marked seen, but she didn't respond. Not knowing what else to do, I copied her post, screenshots and all, and emailed it to the sheriff's department. along with what happened to me. It felt stupid, vague, a couch post and a bad feeling from years ago. I doubted anyone would even look at it. But I couldn't sleep, couldn't sit still. So, at 8:15, I got in my car and drove. Her location was listed on her public page, some old, low rent complex out by the edge of town. I didn't know what I was planning. I just knew I had to see if she had left. I had to know if I was too late. When I pulled up, her car was gone. I followed the same rural highway I'd taken years ago, each mile pressing down like a weight. The fog was thicker now, swirling low and silver across the ground like smoke. My GPS blinked in and out as I drove deeper into the woods. Then I saw it. Headlights up ahead, parked, crooked at the end of a dirt path. It was her car, empty, door ajar, still warm. I killed my lights and got out, heart hammering. There were no sounds but the wind and the crunch of frost underfoot. I followed the path on foot, creeping through the trees until I saw it. Another barn. Not the same one, but it looked identical. Same sagging structure, same sickly yellow bulb glowing above the door like a dying eye. The door was open. Inside, I could hear something. A dragging sound. Heavy, wet. Then, laughter. Low, breathless, and wrong. Not like someone enjoying a joke, more like someone remembering something they were never supposed to enjoy in the first place. I stepped closer, boots trembling beneath me. Inside, the barn was lit only by a single hanging bulb. The couch was there in the center, if you could still call it that. It looked like it had been gutted, restitched, its floral fabric stained dark in places that weren't shadow. And Ellie was there, standing, staring at me, her face pale, slack-jawed, eyes wide open, like she'd been frozen mid-scream. But she wasn't moving. Behind her, a figure emerged from the shadows, then another and another, all wearing masks, ski masks, paper masks. One even wore a porcelain doll's face. I took a step back, but then Ellie blinked and smiled. "I told them you'd come," she whispered. And that's when the lights in the barn all flickered on, revealing the walls. They were covered in photos, dozens of them, different people, all standing beside that same couch, smiling, holding up their phones, ready to take it home. And in the center of it all, a picture of me, taken from behind the night I first ran, frozen mid-sprint. They let me go. Back then, I was bait. This time, I was the couch. It calls from the hollow. I've lived my whole life in southern West Virginia, right in the bone-deep heart of the Appalachian Mountains. You don't really understand what that means until you've stepped outside at midnight and felt the woods breathing around you. They don't just surround you here. They press in, like the land itself is alive, ancient, and watching. It happened too, maybe 3 years ago, but the memory is scorched into me. I don't talk about it much. Honestly, I try not to think about it. But some nights, when the wind falls still and the owls stop calling, I swear I feel it again. Like something's just on the edge of the tree line, waiting. Mark and I had been hanging out at my place, same as always, watching UFC, messing about on Xbox. It was late, probably 1 a.m., and we got the dumb idea to go for a walk and smoke a joint. We picked a nearby trail, one we'd both walked dozens of times. It wasn't long, but the woods it cuts through are thick and old. The kind of trees that were here before names, before maps. The kind that remembers things. As soon as we stepped onto the trail, I felt it. Not fear. Not yet. Just like a kind of wrongness. Like the woods were watching, sizing us up. About halfway in, we stopped to light up. The forest was alive. Too alive. Owls, frogs, bugs rustling in the underbrush. You expect noise out there, sure, but not like this. It was a riot of movement, as if every animal in the hollow had been stirred up all at once. Mark said something about it feeling too busy, and I just nodded. Then, like a switch flipped, it all stopped. No wind, no bugs, just silence. And in that silence, a voice came crawling out of the dark. It sounded human, almost, but not right. Like it was trying to be human and not quite getting there. It came from everywhere and nowhere. A warbling, fractured sound, like a broken speak-and spell filtered through static. The kind of voice that makes your stomach drop because your brain doesn't know how to process it. No real words, just mangled syllables that floated around us like ash. Mark whispered, "We need to go. Now." We bolted, but the voice didn't fade. It followed. Not louder, not softer, just there. Like it had rooted itself inside our heads. The faster we ran, the more distorted it felt. Like the trail was stretching. Like the trees were watching us with interest, amusement. And then came the scream. We were maybe 5 minutes from the end of the trail when it ripped through the silence like a buzzsaw. High, layered, and wrong. It wasn't human, but it wasn't animal either. It was like someone trying to fake a scream. Too perfect, too sharp. A violent guttural howl that made the birds explode from the trees and my heart freeze in my chest. That's when I knew we weren't being watched. We were being hunted. We didn't stop running until we hit the car. I remember fumbling the keys. I remember the way Mark's face looked. Pale, eyes wide, like something had broken inside him. I didn't sleep that night. But here's where it gets worse. About a week later, just after 1 a.m., I was lying in bed. That's when I heard it outside my bedroom window. The voice. Same fractured, warbling tone. Not speaking words, just sounds. Mimicking speech. I froze. Couldn't move. It lasted maybe a minute, maybe longer. Then, silent. When I finally got the nerve to check, there were no footprints in the frost. No sign anyone had been there. But I noticed something odd. The old wood chimes hanging outside had been twisted around themselves, like they'd spun one way too fast, too hard. I didn't tell anyone. What was the point? A few weeks later, I went to go visit my great uncle Rafe. He's old, lived in these hills his whole life. The kind of man who doesn't say much unless you earn it. I finally broke and told him what happened. I expected him to laugh or chalk it up to weed paranoia, but he didn't. He just went quiet and stared at the floor for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. "That trail? That's near Split Hollow, ain't it?" I nodded. "Used to be a burial place there, long time ago, before settlers. The Cherokee avoided it. Said there was a thing in them woods. They called it Sukaloo. Not a beast, not a ghost. Just wrong. A mimic. One that don't know it ain't human no more." I felt ice settle in my chest. They said if it takes your voice, it can walk in your skin. I looked up, his eyes flat and tired. "You ain't heard it since, right?" I told him I hadn't. That was true. Until last month. It was just past 1 a.m. I was brushing my teeth when I heard Mark's voice call my name from outside. Light, easy, friendly. Except Mark died in a car accident last year. And when I looked out the window, no one was there. Just the trees. Breathing. Waiting. Do elevators dream when the doors close? Do they sleep between floors, remembering the people they've carried or the ones they've taken? Strange thought, isn't it? But after everything that's happened, I've started wondering, what if elevators aren't just machines? What if they're passageways and something else is writing them too? I'm not writing this for attention. Hell, I don't even know why I'm writing at all. Maybe I just need it out of me, like bleeding out poison. This story isn't something I want to carry anymore. Maybe by putting it into words, I can leave some of it behind. So here it is. What happened to me, word for word. It started ordinary, don't they all? I just landed a new job. Pay was solid, hours manageable, and after years of cramped apartments and Craigslist roommates, I could finally afford a place of my own. Something clean, modern, uncomplicated. Nova Tower looked like the future. Floors of steel, glass, and silent. No creaky pipes, no cigarette-stained walls, no nosy neighbors. Just polished marble, scentless air, and that eerie kind of cleanliness that feels surgical. They advertise their AI-run systems like a badge of honor. Climate control, automatic blind, smart lighting that matched your circadian rhythm. But what caught my eye was the elevator. No buttons, the leasing agent had said, beaming like it was the cure for cancer. Just step in and it'll detect your destination based on your movement patterns, facial recognition, and biometric signals. Sounded cool, slick, efficient. I didn't think twice. But now, I'd give anything to unstep into that place, to unmeet that elevator, to unknow what I know. It was late, One of those wet, miserable Friday nights where the sky feels like it's trying to crush you. I was soaked to the bone, soup clinging, socks squishing in my shoes, a sheen of cold crawling down my spine. All I wanted was a hot shower and the mindless hum of late night TV. I nodded at the night concierge as I passed. He didn't nod back, just stared, eyes bloodshot, jaw clenched, hands gripping the counter like it was holding him down. I hesitated, only for a second, then shook it off. Whatever. Maybe he was having a bad night. The elevator opened with a sound like a sigh, low and long, not quite mechanical. I stepped in, ready to zone out. But something on the floor caught my eye. A slip of paper, lying dead center in the middle of the floor. Water warped, ink bleeding at the edges. I picked it up, expecting trash, maybe a lost grocery list. Instead, I read it under the flickering light. Rules for using the elevator after 10 p.m. Only ride to even number floors. Do not speak, even if someone talks to you. If the elevator stops at floor 13, do not exit. Close your eyes and wait. If the elevator asks you a question, do not answer. Leave immediately if someone steps in without a reflection. If your reflection is wrong, blink until it looks normal again. I snorted. Urban legends in Helvetica. I remember smiling, one of those weak half laughs you make when you're alone and weirded out. But something about the way it was written, the shaky handwriting, the way "do not exit" was underlined 3 times, made my skin crawl a little. I checked my watch. 10:07 p.m. Maybe someone was just messing around. Cute prank. Halloween must have come early. Whatever. Still, I folded the paper and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Some part of me, a smaller, quieter part, didn't want to just toss it. Not yet. The door slid shut. Smooth. Silent. The elevator started moving. Nothing happened. I got off on floor 12, my apartment. Warm light, white walls, normal. But now, I look back at that moment like it was the last time I stood on safe ground. They say curiosity is a slow kind of death, not sharp and quick, but a whisper, a tug, a splinter beneath the skin. 3 nights later, it whispered again. It was almost midnight. I'd stayed late at work. The rain was back, angrier this time, like the sky was trying to peel the city open. The city outside was still soaked, streets gleaming like oil, air thick and heavy with that end of storm stillness. I was tired, but also curious. You know that feeling when you know something's a bad idea, but your brain whispers, yeah, but what if? That's what happened. I stepped into the elevator. My apartment was on the 12th floor. But the thought crept in. What happens if I don't follow the rule? I said nothing out loud, just stared at the black glass panel above the door. 15, I thought. I wanted to see what was on the 15th. There was a rooftop lounge, supposedly gorgeous views. I hadn't checked it out yet. So I stepped in, waited. The elevator accepted the command. No sound, just movement. It ascended like a ghost. No shudder, no gear sound. just a rising emptiness in my stomach as the numbers ticked upward. 10, 12, 14, 15. The doors opened, and the rooftop lounge was gone. Black, not dim, not poorly lit. Black. The kind of black that has depth, that feels like it's breathing. I stepped forward instinctively, as if testing if the floor still existed. The air was freezing, a cold that bypassed my skin and latched straight onto my bones. "Hello?" I said. My voice sounded wrong, too loud, too swallowed. No answer, just my own voice echoing back, flat and dead. Then, tap, tap, tap. Footsteps, deliberate, soft, slow. Behind me, I spun. No one. The sound stopped. The silence screamed. Then, closer this time. Tap, tap, tap. My heart beat like a sledgehammer. I turned again. Still nothing. But it felt like the dark itself had teeth. I backed away, breath short. I could feel it. Eyes. Watching. Smiling. Not with kindness. I lunged for the elevator, slamming my hand against the inside wall like it was a lifeline. The door slid shut. The elevator dropped. And that's when I looked in the mirror. My reflection wasn't right. It looked like me, wore my soaked coat, had my nervous stance, but the eyes were hollow, and the mouth smiled, not in joy, not in madness. It was a knowing smile, like it had seen what I hadn't yet, like it was waiting for me to catch up. I blinked, and everything snapped back to normal. The mirror showed me, just me, sweating, pale, shaking. But that wasn't relief. It was worse. It meant something had gotten in. When the doors opened to floor 12, I didn't walk. I ran. Keys trembling in my hand. Door slammed. Locks clicked. Lights on. All of them. TV remote maxed just to fill the air with anything. I didn't sleep that night. But that was only the beginning. Days passed, but something had shifted in me. I started avoiding the elevator like it owed me money. Took the stairs, faked phone calls in the lobby, made excuses to stay out later, leave early, whatever it took to avoid those smooth, whisper quiet doors. I tried to forget, told myself I was sleep deprived, stressed, seeing things. But I kept the note like it was a trapdoor warning. I didn't throw it away. I couldn't. Something in me knew it wasn't just paranoia, because Nova Tower wasn't built for paranoia. It was built for compliance. And climbing 12 flights of stairs every day starts to wear on you in a way that seeps into your muscles and makes you careless. It was a Thursday night, nearly 11 p.m. I had my laptop in one hand and a coffee in the other. I gave in again. Late shift. Rain again. Exhausted. My logic overpowered the fear. It was just a glitch, a fluke, an overactive imagination, right? The elevator sat in wait, like a predator, with a velvet grin. I stepped in, The doors closed behind me like a secret being kept. The usual synthetic voice came to life. "Good evening, Liam." Polite, crisp, neutral. "Evening," I muttered back, half out of habit. The elevator hummed softly, began its ascent, but then halfway up, it stopped. Not a gradual slowdown, not the smooth deceleration I'd grown used to. It halted, hard, like the air itself had seized. The lights flickered, once, twice, then dimmed to a dull, sickly yellow. Then the voice returned, but different this time. Lower, closer, more human. "Liam." I felt the blood drain from my face. The voice was almost gentle, like a lower waking you from a nightmare. "Do you trust me?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. My jaw locked tight, throat dry as dust. The silence after the question was unbearable. Not quiet, expectant. Like something was watching and waiting, leaning in, breathing down my neck. Then again, slower this time. "Liam, do you trust me?" The air thickened. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I felt like I was shrinking inside my skin. I wanted to scream, but all I could manage was a whisper. "No." And everything went black. I felt it before I heard it. The sensation of falling. A sudden violent drop, like the floor had just given up. The lights died completely. The elevator screamed, a deep metallic howl like it was being torn apart from the inside. I crashed into the ceiling, then the floor, then the wall, tumbling weightless in all directions at once. My hands clawed at cold steel. My knees slammed against the ground. My head struck something hard. Still falling, still falling, still. Suddenly silent. The elevator shuddered, stopped. Then, ding. The doors slid open like nothing had happened. Floor 12. Lights normal. Lobby music playing softly through the speakers like I hadn't just stared into the throat of hell. I crawled out. Couldn't even stand. My chest heaved. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I gagged, dry heaving on the hallway floor. I stumbled back to my apartment and didn't come out for 2 days. But after that night, I swore I'd never ride the elevator past 10 again. I tried taking the stairs for a while. 12 floors. Not fun, but better than being trapped in that steel coffin with a voice that knew my name. At first, I thought I could just avoid it. Use it only during the day, follow the rules, and stay safe. But the building didn't care. The rules? They weren't safeguards. They were agreements. You break them, even by accident, and something not human notices, and it doesn't forget. Subtle things started shifting. My apartment door would be ajar when I came home, even though I knew I had locked it. The AI butler would glitch, calling me by the wrong name. "Hello, Mr. Anders," it'd say. But there was no Mr. Anders. The neighbors started acting strange too. I passed a woman on my floor, Mrs. Green, I think. Nice old lady, always wore bright lipstick. but her smile was off, too wide, and she whispered, "Going down, Liam?" Just that. Not hi, not good evening, just that. I didn't respond. I didn't even breathe until I was back inside my apartment. I started leaving all my lights on, music playing constantly, anything to drown out the silence. But it kept seeping in. The building had a way of pressing against you, like it was trying to get into you. I wished I could say I learned my lesson, but the tower, it doesn't let you forget. The elevator started showing up in my dreams. Always the same. Doors opening onto a hallway that shouldn't exist. Flickering lights, peeling wallpaper, and something standing at the far end, unmoving, watching. Eventually, life forces you back into routine. Even nightmares can become familiar. I convinced myself I'd follow the rules. Never speak, never go to odd floors, never answer questions. One night, when I was exhausted, sleep deprived, and barely functioning, I told myself, just use the elevator. Follow the rules, you'll be fine. So I did. I waited until 9:40 p.m. Early enough, I thought. I stepped in that night, alone, head down, mind blank. "Floor 12, I said clearly, just once. The elevator obeyed, began to rise. The numbers blinked upward. 4, 6, 8. Then something changed. The panel flickered, buzzed. The numbers scrambled. 8, 10, 12, 13. No. There's no 13th floor. There wasn't supposed to be a 13th floor. I stared in disbelief. The elevator slowed, stopped. Ding. The door slid open. What I saw, I still can't fully explain. The hallway stretched on forever. Walls the color of rot, carpet worn to the threads, water stains bleeding down the ceiling like veins. And at the end, a figure, human shaped, completely still, shrouded in shadows, too far to see details, but close enough to feel. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My instincts screamed, "Shut your eyes. Shut them. Don't look." So I did. Tight. Every muscle locked. The air changed, grew heavy, cold, wet, like fog creeping under my skin. I whispered to myself over and over, "Close the doors. Please, please close." The elevator groaned, like something ancient had to be convinced to move. It felt like an eternity. Finally, click. The doors sealed shut, nearly catching my sleeve. The elevator rose, my eyes snapped open. I didn't see the figure again, but I felt it. It's like the thing on floor 13 didn't just see me. It knew me. Suddenly, the elevator took me to floor 12 as if nothing had happened. But my apartment door was already open, and the lights inside already on. I couldn't go on like this. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, lost 10 pounds in a week. My coworkers said I looked hollow. I quit making excuses and started making plans. Breaking the lease would cost me thousands. Didn't care. I just wanted out. I packed a bag, grabbed the essentials, left the rest. It was past midnight when I headed for the lobby. The hallways were too quiet. Even the air felt tense, like the whole building was holding its breath. I pressed the elevator call button with a shaky finger. Ding. Doors open. Empty. I stepped inside. As the doors began to close, a hand slipped in. The doors stopped. A man stepped inside. He was dressed too cleanly. Black suit, black tie, silver briefcase. No creases, no expression. He gave me a nod. "Evening," he said. I nodded back because what else do you do? But something was wrong. Deeply, instinctively wrong. The temperature dropped. A scent, coppery like rust or old blood, drifted into the air. And then I glanced at the mirrored wall. He had no reflection. None. Just me, standing alone, even though he was 2 feet away. My mouth dried up. My chest caved inward. My feet wouldn't move. Then he turned his head slowly toward me, smiled, just slightly. "Going down?" he asked. Not a question. Not really. My body finally reacted. I launched myself through the doors just before they closed behind me. They shut with a finality I felt in my spine. I ran. Didn't stop until I burst out into the cold, wet air of the city. I didn't look back. I didn't go home. I didn't even stop moving until my legs gave out 3 blocks away, and I collapsed on a bench, soaked in rain, heart still galloping like it was trying to escape my ribcage. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification. "Nova Tower, your elevator experience has been logged." I stared at the phone screen until the rain blurred the text. I powered the phone off. Never turned it back on again. The next day, I checked into a cheap hotel. Curtains that didn't close right. Sheets that smelt like burnt plastic. But at least there were stairs. Beautiful, terrible, leg-burning stairs. No elevators. I tried sleeping. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that hallway. The one that shouldn't exist. The figure at the end. Waiting. I heard footsteps in the silence. Felt eyes in every reflection. The city noise became a background hum. And all I could focus on was not remembering. Didn't work. A week later, while drinking stale coffee and scrolling mindlessly through news apps, I saw the headline. Nova Tower residents report strange glitches in elevator system. Temporary shutdown announced. They called it technical issues. Said some residents experienced floor misplacement, audio distortions, and in one vague sentence, non-physical presences. But no one used the word haunted. No one said possessed. No one mentioned people stepping in and not stepping out. Buried in the comments was a post from another resident. Did anyone else get that creepy note about rules after 10 p.m.? Someone replied, "Yeah, thought it was a prank, but my dog won't go near the elevator anymore." And another, "What's on floor 13? The post was deleted less than an hour later. I still had the note, crumpled, damp, stained at the edges, like it had bled through the paper. I flattened it out on the desk of my hotel room, smoothing it with shaking hands. Read it again. Every rule made sense now. Every warning was earned. Every line wasn't about control. It was about survival. Only ride to even number floors. Do not speak. Do not look. Do not answer. Leave if it has no reflection. It wasn't a game. It was a contract, and I'd broken it. That night, I had the dream again, but this time, I wasn't in the elevator. I was outside Nova Tower, looking up. The windows glowed red, every single one. Not warm light, not fire. Red, like the building had blood inside of wiring. And from the top floor, something watched me. Not with eyes, with intent. Like it knew I was still alive. Like it wasn't finished. I woke up with tears on my face and the taste of metal in my mouth. I moved 3 times in 4 months. Changed phones, changed jobs, told no one. Cut off everyone from that part of my life. But it wasn't over. It never really is it? Because about a week ago, in a building I'd never been in before, I pressed the call button for the elevator. It arrived. Empty. I stepped in. It started rising. Then the voice came. Soft. Familiar. "Good evening, Liam." I froze. My vision blurred. I hadn't told the building my name. I looked up. The display flickered. 12, 13, 13, 13. And I realized something. I never left. Not really. If you've listened this far, you've made a mistake. You've heard the rules. And the thing about the rules is, they're like bait. The moment you know they exist, the moment they live in your brain, the game begins. You might feel it already. That chill when you step into an elevator alone. That twitch when the lights flicker. That second glance in the mirror, just to make sure it's still you. It's watching now. The elevator. Not just in Nova Tower. Anywhere. So listen. If you find a note in your building with strange rules on it, don't laugh. Don't test it. And whatever you do, don't get in it after 10 p.m. Because once you know what's out there, once you break a rule, even once the elevator knows your name, it remembers you. It never forgets. So next time you're alone, next time you press a button and the floor you land on isn't quite right, next time you hear a voice ask, "Do you trust me?" Don't answer. Just pray the doors open again. And that, dear listeners, brings a close to these member and subscriber requested stories. Before I move on any further, I'd like to acknowledge the rest of the membership and the new people of Back to Ashes. Thank you so much for your dedicated support. Thank you for always being here. For without you, I wouldn't have a voice and this channel will not exist. I cannot thank you enough. If you're sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you comfortably. If you're awake, I hope you've enjoyed these selections. Until next time, please stay vigilant and please take care of yourselves. I'll be reading to you soon. Have yourself a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Peace, love, and light to you all.